Hello, everyone. This is Denise Butchko with Butchko and Company, and I'm here today with Lane Taylor from Tailored Marketing and Christian Smedberg, who's a marketing professional in the building industry. And we are going to talk about SEO. I get a lot of people who ask me questions about it. I'm not the expert at it, so I've brought in two people who are. This segment is about biggest mistakes. Maybe you're making one of them. Maybe you could learn from this. So let's start with you, Lane. What are the biggest SEO mistakes that you see people make?
Denise, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making when it comes to SEO is that they just say, I don't understand it. I'm not going to do it. I wipe my hands of this. And honestly, you're missing out on thousands of potential leads, which is terrifying.
Thousands of leads.
So definitely make sure that if you don't understand SEO, that's something that you really make a top priority, especially going into the new year, for your business, and set some goals in search engine optimization. Sit down with a professional if you need to and have a conversation about, what should I be doing for my company? What is going to help me increase my traffic? What's going to help me increase my rankings with Google? And just look at those various things. Just a simple internet search about SEO, you will find more articles than you want to know on the topic.
Yeah.
So just really looking for some information on just very, very basic. What it is, how are keywords important? How does Google look at my website? What does Google look at my website to see in order to rank me? And things like that are just some very basic ways to start out. And especially looking at your content. If you're writing your content to your reader, the search engines are trying to sell to searchers, basically. They want them to use Google or Bing or whatever in order to find what they're looking for. And so they're going to feed the content that they think is the absolute best. And so if your content's the absolute best, Google is going to recognize that. So that's a great way to start out.
Okay. So people just don't understand it, and so then they ignore it.
Yes.
That's happening frequently with people. Because you're helping me right now with this very topic that I've been like, oh my gosh, I can't get a handle on it. Okay, great. Christian, what's the biggest mistake you see?
Yeah, I think the largest mistake that I see folks making, especially businesses who are either getting an outside firm to do this or just starting out doing it themselves, is optimizing their site for something other than what they want their customers to know them as. So, and I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but you see it all the time, which is companies optimizing their websites for what they think they are. So they're using all the terminology, all the content that they use on a daily basis in-house, but ignoring the terminology and the content that their customers use outside of their bubble. So what I would say to remedy this mistake that I see is to get outside of your terminology bubble and understand what customers actually are saying when you want them to think about you. So what terms are they using for your products? What terms are they using for your services, instead of what do you call your services and what do you call your products? Actually understanding what customers and what the field is saying.
So how does somebody do that?
Well, that's where SEO, the whole exercise of SEO is not strictly an online exercise. It's also an offline exercise. As Lane said, search engines are wanting to give the best results to the searchers. For you to do that, you need to have copy that is the best copy that you can provide on your website. And to do that, you have to get outside of internet land sometimes. You actually have to get out in the field and write stuff that has to do with real life, that actually has to do with your products. If you have a physical product, write about the physical product. You have to get out there in the field, see how it's applied, see how it's installed, see how it looks in different lighting perhaps, and put all of that content on your site. And that'll generate much better results than if you don't understand what your customers are actually doing with your product out in the field, and you just focus on specifics or technicalities on your website.
So if I was going to use my closet design aspect of the business as an example, and I focus very much on a higher end custom closet, then is it that my content should be, what should my content be that would match up? And then am I plugging in those certain search words? Keywords?
Lane, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So you're really going to want to target your audience. And so it's really important for, like you said, you deal with a high-end clientele. What, what publications are they reading? What language are they speaking? What are they looking for when they call you up and they say, Denise, help me, I need this. You really have to kind of gauge from just those conversations to start out with what they see you as, because if they're asking questions that have absolutely nothing to do with your business or what you offer, that's going to be a huge clue into, okay, something's up. Like, why do you think that I do this? And don't be afraid to survey your customers and ask them, oh, how did you hear that I did that? Or, oh, did you read that on my website somewhere? How did you find me? So those are all very helpful questions that are simple for them to answer, but it will really do wonders for your business and you being able to optimize your site to best meet their needs.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
And I would add, don't be afraid to get specific. So if your clientele is mentioning a few specific styles, use those styles in your content on your website. So if they're mentioning, for example, in design, whether it be closets or kitchens or whatever, if you keep hearing certain colors that are being used, then put those colors into your content. So don't be afraid to get specific. And that's another mistake that some folks do, is they try to catch the really big fish and they go super broad and they want to optimize their there's a whole site on the words closet design. Well, that's enormous. And let, when you start off, focus on a smaller fish. Higher end closet design in the Chicago area, would be a much better approach than just closet design.
Yeah. And so if I took a story about a really high end closet and wrote in kind of the story of the, whatever, not revealing who the person is, but what they needed and the materials and things that I've used in that project, is that the right way to go?
Yeah, I think that's a great option, Denise, because that really gives your customers that in-application information about your product. So you have like this case study that you don't have to, look to an agency to write a case study for you. You have already worked with your clients, and so the stories of how they found you, what the design entailed, and things like that. And so even including, if they allow you to include pictures or things like that, that's a great way to be able to get your information out there.
And do the pictures come into play? So pictures are key, I think, in a visual business like woodworking, cabinetry, kitchens, closets. And I encourage people, even if it's with their phone, to at least get some photos. Then are there special ways that you're supposed to tag or have, is it alt text in the photos?
Yeah, so whenever you're using photos online, you'll want to do a couple things. First of all, you'll want to optimize them for your website. So you want to get them to a size that is not humongous. So you don't need a billboard size photo for your website. That's going to take an eternity to load and nobody's going to wait for that. So you get it to a size that you need it, you optimize it, but don't compromise the quality on it. So that's kind of a little bit meticulous as you're sitting there, can I make it smaller? Can I make it smaller? If it gets pixelated, it's doing you no good. It's actually harming you. So make sure that it's a great picture, even if it takes just a little bit longer. And like you said, Denise, with the alt text, you want to put alt text behind all your images because that's you giving your photo keyword to Google. So you're saying, Google, this photo is a high-end shaker style cabinet in Chicago. And Google's like, oh, sweet, somebody's going to search for that. I'm going to pop that right up there on the first page.
Also, a lot of website creation tools out there also have very easy photo caption options, where after you add a photo to your website, you can add a caption, which sometimes overlays right on the bottom of the photograph. Sometimes it's right underneath the photograph, and it allows you to put some keyword-rich content right with the photo, but not taking away from the photograph itself.
Gotcha. And that leads me to what we're going to talk about in our next session, which is that kind of, how does somebody on their own, get a start on this if they're not, if they want to get a little bit of a foundation and then talk to a professional. So we're going to sign off on this one, and y'all come back and we're going to get into more in depth about how somebody starts on their own, or how do you choose a professional to do something like that. Cool?
Great.
All right.
Awesome.